Testing 1 2 1 2. Hello, hello, hello. Let me know if you can hear me, everyone. Testing 1 2 1 2. Hey Trent. Hey guys, what a week. What a huge week in crypto. Hey Jordan. Hey everyone. Jumping on to do a live stream today. Going to try something a little bit different. Hopefully you can all hear me all right. We'll start in a few minutes. We're just getting everything sorted. G'day Andrew. Hey all. We'll get started soon. How's everyone's week going? I can't believe we're nearly into the March. Okay, Chris. I'm off to Miami in a week and a half, which I'm excited about. I'm just praying I don't get COVID between now and then. Right. Cool. We'll give it one more minute and then we'll kick off. Thanks everyone for joining. It's nice to have a little pump overnight. What are we? 44,000, I think. Yeah, 44. We're having another little go now. Ethereum at 3,100. For those followers of the Collective Shift, Maple's just had an unbelievable run. I think we hit all-time high. Unbelievable. Hey, Metaverse. Leon, nice to have you. Jamie. Just absolutely madness. It's crazy. I think Maple was up 150, 160% in September in a bear market, which is unbelievable. So well done to everyone that jumped onto that. I've just realized this is called the wrong thing. But, Okay, give it one more minute, guys. We'll start at 1:05. Give it one more minute. Just getting all this sorted. Sorry guys, my first live stream, so I'm just trying to make sure this is all working. Yes, BTC, Russia news, just what's all happening. My computer's also not really enjoying everything that's happening either. Okay, my computer's just under frozen. But anyway, yeah, so obviously everything's happened this week. I mean, probably the biggest news off the back of this week, which you've been following the daily episodes, was I think Ray Dalio's announcement yesterday, where the biggest hedge fund in the world is buying Bitcoin, as well as Goldman Sachs. I think that was probably one of the biggest news as well. And we're going to dive into all that today. Goldman Sachs actually updated their website just, I think, overnight to a really, really bullish crypto digital asset website. So it's all about basically digital assets and crypto. So they've completely changed their viewpoint on crypto over the last little while, and now going all in on crypto as well. So we're going to jump into all that and more. Obviously Bitcoin, we're trending upwards of about 44,000. I think it's a bit slow to refresh on the Collective Shift site, but that's really exciting stuff. And obviously the market cap as well, gone over 2 trillion recently as well, with lots happening. So let's dive into it. Thanks everyone for joining. We're going to have a Q&A at the end. So if you have any questions, please fire them in the chat. I'd love to get to them at the end. And let's get into it. So yeah, really the running crypto market. I mean, it was only a couple of weeks ago we were talking recently about They're being potentially in a bear market with all the inflation that's going on, with I guess the uncertainty of the war that's happening, and I think what we've seen of recently is Bitcoin continued to become this hedge against inflation, this asset that people are moving their money into. It's a way outside of the normal system, and it's a way to, I guess, get out of all the chaos. I was watching a video this morning of some financial advisors in the stock market basically advising all their clients to sell their assets. The stock market is in a really bearish environment. We had a bit of a bounce, and they're advising to get out of the stock market. Now, what asset are people going into at the moment with everything that's going on? I mean, Bitcoin has performed unbelievably well. I think it's up about 25% since the war began, which is huge. No other asset is doing that right now, and Bitcoin continues to be this external decentralized asset that is a hedge against inflation, and it's getting stronger and stronger with more people following and understanding that it is an investment that people should be making at this point in time. We're sitting about 44,000. The other thing as well with the Fed coming out, Jerome Powell warned on Monday about the rising inflation and suggested the US central bank is willing to raise rates more aggressively. A more aggressive increase in rates raises the chance of a recession and will slow growth more, so making it more expensive for businesses to take out loans, which makes it harder for businesses to grow and employ their staff. So there's been obviously a lot of growth over the last few years in the economy, so they're looking to increase these rates so the economy does slow, because we're seeing inflation go at absolutely unbelievable rates. It's at an all-time high, not an all-time high, a 40-year high of about 8 or 9%. And we're seeing Ethereum as well. Super bullish on Ethereum at the moment. There's lots happening in Ethereum. We're going to jump into that now. So as you know, Ethereum is moving from proof of work to proof of stake over the next few months. They've been working on it for a long time now, but I think that is hopefully coming to a point where they're able to launch that. And what we're seeing is an all-time high on, not an all-time high, only 11.3% of Ethereum circulating supply is now held on centralized exchanges, so the lowest level since September 2018. So we're seeing a lot of Ethereum being bought. The balances on exchanges are at an all-time low, meaning that as soon as there is an increase in demand or there's more people coming to buy Ethereum, there's actually not that much liquidity for Ethereum. There's not that much Ethereum out there for people to buy, and which basically means that as soon as there's going to be a catalyst for Ethereum in the macro environment of more people wanting to buy Ethereum, I think we're going to see a pretty rapid price increase. We're also seeing, obviously, with the proof of work to proof of stake, that is super bullish for Ethereum, and for a number of reasons. One is that the supply shock that will happen. So basically, let's go back a step. So at the moment, Ethereum is proof of work, which is the same as Bitcoin. So basically, the way it works is you have miners that compete for an algorithm and try and basically win a mathematical equation to verify the transactions on the blockchain. Now that does take a lot of computational power, so they're moving away from that to a proof of stake method. And the way it basically works is they're just going to migrate across. People have to put up 32 Ethereum to stake Ethereum, and that's going to be the new way that the blockchain verifies the transactions. Now, when that happens, it's going to trigger a supply shock, meaning that Ethereum will, the amount of Ethereum produced in the market will be reduced by about 70 to 90%, and the inflation is set to drop from 4.3% to 0.4%, which is really huge. What this will mean as well with, again, back to that supply stuff we're talking about under the proof of work, under the proof of stake mechanism, is that as more people are looking to buy Ethereum and more people understand what Ethereum is doing with the dApps that's being built on top of the smart contracts, etc., I think we're going to see a really big price increase. ETH issued will change with the proof of stake, as we mentioned. So Vitalik's estimation, the amount of ETH issued could decline significantly to around 500 to a million a year, which is around a 75 to 90% decrease in overall issuance, which is really huge. Nick discussed this a little bit recently as well. So yeah, that yearly inflation rate from 4.3% to around 0.4%. So, nearly deflationary in that mechanism. So yeah, really bullish about Ethereum. There's a lot happening there. The merge has been delayed. So the first big step happened in December 2020, when the beginning of the Beacon chain, a simple version of the proof of stake network with only staked ETH, which cannot be withdrawn. The next big step for proof of stake Beacon chain merges with the Ethereum's current proof of work chain, i.e. the merge. The merge has been delayed and slow to release, but there have been significant steps in testing with a testnet and testing the merge. So I was speaking to Nick about this. I'm not a developer by any stretch and don't claim to be. Nick, our senior analyst at Collective Shift, was sort of talking about this as possibly one of the most difficult technological challenges that Ethereum has faced. And, no one has done this before, merging proof of work to proof of stake. And there is a lot of money on the line. I mean, the market cap of Ethereum is $372 billion worth of Ethereum, in the market at the moment, which is absolutely huge. That's something you don't want to get wrong, and this has never been done before. So it is difficult. It has been delayed. I'll be interested to see when that comes out, but continue to be super bullish on Ethereum. Gonna jump over and make sure people can still hear me. Awesome. Hey, Chris. Hey, Jack. Thanks for everyone jumping on. Yeah, so tying together, essentially for Ethereum, a supply shock is potentially on the cards. It's fueled by the reduced Ethereum being issued, the continued ETH being burnt, plus the ETH staking lockup. And if demand drivers continue, the new investors want Ethereum or current investors want more, this could lead to a supply squeeze or shock. And I think from Bitcoin standpoint, what we saw overnight was possibly something similar. I spoke about in a YouTube video yesterday around what we're seeing on the on-chain analytics and the amount of Bitcoin held on exchanges, and the supply was also, at record lows. It doesn't change much for the macro to change or have a trigger that is going to trigger more people to come into Bitcoin and crypto. I mean, we saw back in, 2017, 2018, with the altcoin season, it just requires some sort of change in the market to bring new investors in and more liquidity and more capital. And when there's such a low amount of supply, when the liquidity on these exchanges is so low where these people come to, it pushes prices up because there's not that much there to buy. And we're seeing this Ethereum and Bitcoin at all-time lows on that front. Now, Goldman Sachs has overnight updated their website. So Goldman Sachs in the past has been a really, bearish against Bitcoin, crypto. They came out a number of times and said it's not going to work, it's a scam, whatever they've said. And overnight, they've updated their website. The first thing you land on the Goldman Sachs website now is digitalization. From cryptocurrencies to the metaverse, explore the mega trends that are reshaping economies, which I find pretty funny. I mean, obviously they've started to come on board. And I think I was watching an interview recently, I think it was Michael Saylor talking about, who are these people that are actually bearish on Bitcoin, and have they spent 100 hours actually learning about Bitcoin? The reality is most of these people that are bearish and come out with these claims to say it's a scam, it's worth nothing, it's backed by nothing, it's a Ponzi scheme, whatever, haven't actually spent the time to figure out and understand what these asset is. And I think the more these bigger banks, businesses spend time in the market, spend more time understanding Bitcoin, the more they're going to come to a flood to Bitcoin. And we're seeing exactly that. So Goldman Sachs recently became the first major US bank to trade crypto OTC, and the bank traded a Bitcoin-linked instrument called a non-deliverable option with crypto merchant bank Galaxy Digital. So they're not buying the underlying Bitcoin asset. They're actually taking basically a futures contract on that, but they're basically betting on the Bitcoin will go up over the foreseeable future. The co-president of Galaxy Digital mentioned that this trade represents the first step that banks have taken to offer direct, customizable exposures to the crypto market on behalf of their clients. And hedge funds have been seeking derivative exposure to Bitcoin, either to make wagers on its price without directly owning it, or to hedge existing exposure to it, the firm said. Now, as I mentioned, obviously they're not buying the underlying asset, which we would love for them to buy Bitcoin, the underlying asset, but they're taking the first step. Custody is still a big issue. How these banks own Bitcoin and how they store it is a valid concern. So at the moment, they're going to be taking these derivatives exposures to bet on the price of Bitcoin, which in my opinion is still very bullish. I mean, they're taking on Bitcoin. They know it's the future, crypto especially. And, to see that they've updated their website to basically reflect that is pretty interesting. So I think we're going to see more. Obviously, they've had a lot of these banks and hedge funds, a lot of interest from their clients wanting to buy and get exposure to Bitcoin. And these high net wealth individuals don't want to go to your Coinbases and your coin spots to buy it themselves. They're going to their banks and their financial advisors to do it on their behalf. If you have any questions, guys, feel free to shoot them through. This be the way. Agree, very good for ETH. Okay. Next, so Ray Dalio, the fund manager of the biggest hedge fund in the world, announced that they will be getting into crypto as well, which is really huge news. This came out a few days ago now. So Ray Dalio owns Bitcoin himself, has previously been a bit of a skeptic, been a Bitcoin skeptic, but I think the fund coming into crypto and creating a dedicated crypto fund is super bullish. So they have $150 billion of assets under management. Obviously, not even a small percentage of that will be going into Bitcoin. A very, very minuscule will be going into that. But to see that more and more of these sophisticated investors, sophisticated funds, banks, etc., getting into crypto is really bullish. Dalio confirmed in May that he personally owns Bitcoin. He's previously said that it's too volatile. He has also expressed concern over the potential for the government banning it and its use in ransomware attacks. There are two purposes of money. One, a medium of exchange and a storeholder of wealth. And Bitcoin is not effective in either of those two cases now, Dalio said back in 2020. Now, he's obviously moved a lot further from that since he sort of came out in 2020 and has now said that he has changed his mind since then. And despite his skepticism, Dalio has noted that Bitcoin earned his respect. It has been an amazing accomplishment for Bitcoin to have achieved what it has done, not being hacked, having it work, and having it adopted the way it has been, he told MarketWatch in December. I believe in the blockchain technology. It has earned credibility. So very bullish on that front. Hopefully you can still hear me, guys. I'm not sure if that internet cut out then. Awesome. Moving forward. So again, another thing we spoke about recently was Terra Luna. I did a bit of a deep dive into Terra Luna on Monday. And the Terra Luna ecosystem basically predominantly has two components. One is a stable coin called UST, and the other is Luna, the token that backs the ecosystem. Now, UST, the underlying stablecoin, is actually not pegged, it's pegged to $1, but it's not collateralized by anything. There's nothing backing it. And it has basically the mechanism that works. When you sell one UST for Luna, you actually burn that UST and vice versa. So it keeps the dollar peg. But we saw in May last year in Luna UST, there was a big sell-off of UST and that lost its peg. And that's obviously not good for a stable coin being in a big ecosystem like that. It's the third biggest stable coin or second biggest stable coin in market cap. So what they've done, they've actually come out and now bought Bitcoin as collateral for Luna. So rather than using the USD dollar, they're using Bitcoin as the native currency to say that is what we're calling money. It's the cleanest, hardest form of money. And they announced, Do Kwon, the Terra co-founder, announced that they're buying $10 billion in Bitcoin, which is absolutely huge. And on March 24th, the third tranche of Tether USDT left a wallet thought to hold funds earmarked to purchase Bitcoin. So I think that's been some really bullish news, probably pushed Bitcoin up a little bit as well recently. It's going to be interesting to see how more stable coins potentially use Bitcoin as the backing and the collateral for these stable coins. I think it makes sense, right? Why would you use UST that's continuing to decline in value? The purchasing power you can get of USD is continuing to decline. Inflation rates is continuing, anything paired in USD is continuing to decline. So I think Bitcoin as a hedge against inflation is a hard asset. It's trustless. You don't need to trust any government body. Why not use Bitcoin? Right, moving into the next. Feel free to shoot your questions across as well, everyone. If you've got some questions, we get to Q&A at the end. Hey, Crypto Jono. Hey, Brady. Jack. So ANZ also announced one of the Australian banks here were the first bank to mint an Australian digital dollar, so Australian stablecoin. They minted $30 million worth of its bank-backed ADC stablecoin in a national first, and it's becoming the first major financial institution in the country to issue and execute payment of a stablecoin linked to the nation's dollar. So, we've spoken a little bit about stablecoins on the channel. I love the idea of decentralized stablecoins, USDC, UST, etc. But these bank stablecoins, in my opinion, really aren't decentralized. They're still the same idea as a bank. You don't own or get to control those assets. You still have an an oversight. Someone's looking at those transactions, so someone still has control. Now, obviously, the banks are very bullish about this, coming out and saying, why would you trust Tether and all the controversy around it? Or would you rather just transact in Tether, what would you rather transact in the controversy in Tether or a bank-backed stablecoin? Now, I thought Dan Held wrote a pretty good article about this a little while ago around central bank digital currencies, bank digital currencies, as well as versus Bitcoin. And I think we've got to go right back to the start and understand, why these central bank and banks want to create these currencies in the first place. So, first of all, basically right now, businesses and consumers can't directly bank with a central bank, but instead use through various intermediaries, Bank of Australia, ANZ, JP Morgan, etc. And the supposed benefits of a central bank digital currency is it would decrease the transaction and settlement costs, improve distribution of stimulus checks via the direct access, etc. However, the true intention is a bit more sinister. So obviously these banks want to use the underlying blockchain technology to be able to settle their payments faster, transact internationally, all those sorts of things that the blockchain allows you to do. But the root problem of the conventional currency is that all trust that's required to make it work. So the central bank must be trusted not to debase the currency. But the history of fiat currencies is full of breaches of that trust. Banks must be trusted to hold our money and transfer it electronically, but they lend it out in waves of credit bubbles and barely a fraction in reserve. So these banks, if you don't know, they take the money that you and I deposit in our bank accounts and then they go and loan that out. And what we saw in Russia recently when, again, this idea of banks being able to loan out 80 to 90% of the cash reserves, when you have a bank run and people want to come and get the money out of the bank, all hell breaks loose because there's no money to give out because they're literally printing money out of thin air. They're synthetically creating money to loan out. And that's super scary because we're trusting these people to do that. Now, Satoshi created Bitcoin to solve this problem of trust with money. Bitcoin breaks the power over citizens by enabling anyone, anywhere to transact with whoever they like and preserve their wealth without trusting anyone else. Now, central bank digital currencies largely do not solve problems for consumers. For the supposed marginal improvement of efficiency, it would extend their control into every single business and personal transaction. For example, governments will be able to automatically tax every transaction. Governments would be able to allocate funds away from specific individuals, and governments would have visibility into every transaction and counterparty. This is where freedom goes to die. Thankfully, we have Bitcoin. With CBDCs looming on the horizon, Bitcoin's value prop becomes even sharper. A digital Swiss bank that cannot be touched or censored by governments. Bitcoin offers us a way out of this dystopian novel. So, again, what we're seeing here in these central bank currencies and bank currencies, nothing's changing. They still have all the control. They're not decentralized, they're centralized. They have even more visibility into what you're doing with those stable coins when you have a wallet on your phone and you're sending that money. It's not for me competing with Bitcoin or any other of the decentralized stable coins because it's one and the same in my opinion. It's the same sort of thing that what they're doing already in the currency. They have complete control. What we saw in Canada with the protests, people shutting down accounts. This is going to just send more people to Bitcoin and the decentralized nature. And I for one am not too excited about these bank-led stable coins. Awesome. Now, overnight, we saw Russia came out and said they are considering selling its oil and gas for Bitcoin as sanctions intensify from the West. So Russia might accept Bitcoin as payment for its oil and gas exports as Western countries stifle sanctions. So this is really interesting as well. Russia going, no, screw everyone. We're not going to accept your USD dollars, and not that they can anyway because of all the sanctions. That basically on a videotape conference on Thursday, the chair of Russia's Committee on Energy, who's talking in Russian, but they translated it to basically they're saying they are very friendly and considering accepting Bitcoin as payment for its oil and gas exports. So they've been proposing to China for a long time now to switch to settlements in national currencies for rubles and yuan. And he said you can also trade Bitcoins. So off the back of this news, if they want to buy, let them pay either in hard currency, and this is gold for us, or pay it as convenient for us, and this is the national currency. So it'd be interesting to see if people continue to avoid the US economy and the US dollar and start to trade in Bitcoin, because obviously there's a lot of sanctions going on in Russia right now, and yeah, really interesting to see how that plays out. Cool, moving on. So the US Senate to consider a bill examining El Salvador's Bitcoin experiment. So El Salvador, as you most likely know, last year announced that Bitcoin will be their legal tender in El Salvador. And yeah, it's really cool. Obviously, they did that to try and boost the economy. The local currency was dying. So they're now using Bitcoin to settle payments, to pay people, to pay taxes, and use an economy that is not manipulated by governments, and you don't need the local currency. Now, the US have come out and basically put in a bill to generate the displeasure of El Salvador's president, Nayib Bukele. So the full US Senate will vote on a bill looking to mitigate risks to the US financial system from El Salvador's adoption of Bitcoin as legal tender after the bill was passed on Wednesday. So as El Salvador has adopted Bitcoin as legal tender, it's important we understand and mitigate potential risks to the US financial system. So yeah, the US are scared, really, and they're scared of Bitcoin becoming not only adopted in some of these smaller countries but across the wider system. And the president of Nayib came out and said never in his wildest dreams he would have thought the US government would be afraid of what they are doing here. He tweeted, and we'll just bring up this tweet. Never in my wildest dreams would have thought that the US government will be afraid of what we are doing here. And this is the bill, and they're basically trying to block El Salvador from using Bitcoin. And the bill is called, the act may be cited as the Accountability for Cryptocurrency in El Salvador Act. Just looking to try and block them from using Bitcoin as legal tender. And I think that goes to show, we love these US government, and even the bill that they passed recently, the Digital Currency Act, they are being more bullish on crypto assets. But again, when it comes to Bitcoin being as a legal tender and a currency, they are scared, and they're running away from this. And I would have preferred to see them actually adopting this and looking at how they can actually build it within their ecosystem and US as well. But instead, they come out and pass a bill to try and ban it. Moving into our altcoin news, so Solana. Price a bit of gain over the night, so 10% as the gaming adoption increases. Now, Solana is down a fair significant amount from its all-time high. Solana, as we know, has probably had a few issues in the past around uptime on their blockchain and whatnot. But the 9th largest crypto asset by market cap climbed about 10% in the last 24 hours. And off the back of some news launching games and projects on the Solana blockchain. So Web3 gaming startup Block Tackle shared Tuesday they're developing a Solana NFT skateboarding game, and Coinbase recently added Solana token support to its wallet browser extension. So yeah, still down quite significantly, fluctuating between $80 and $100, down from $260 its all-time high. But like most altcoins, things are been pretty bearish since December last year. Any questions, feel free to shoot them across. Team, we're about to get into the Q&A. We're nearly wrapping up the news. Axie Infinity up 50% again ahead of its Origin launch, which is super bullish. So yeah, obviously with the recent moves of Yuga Labs and the Bored Ape Yacht Club, the gaming and metaverse industry could continue to be a winner in 2022. The P2E gaming still is one of the hottest sectors, and Axie Infinity increased 56.5% over the last 10 days. And yeah, continue to be doing strength from strength. The price of Axie Infinity has also been given a boost by the steadily increasing Axie Infinity's user base, which is now at an all-time high. The 207,000 users using Axie Infinity. It's just quite astonishing how many of these users are actually using these play-to-earn games. I think we're going to see more of those players come across from the console space into the metaverse P2E space. Now, Diplo NFTs token, so the music NFT space continues to be bullish. I know Matt from Collective Shoes continued to be honing in on the music NFTs. And basically, what they're getting around here is... I lost that. Yeah, I think I just accidentally crossed that off. But yeah, basically what the music NFTs, they're selling tokens to get access to their... and NFTs, access to their new singles, their new music they're putting out, which is really interesting, right? So, and they're giving royalties back to those holders. So Diplo's his new album, he's releasing 2,000 NFTs, and if you own one of those NFTs, you can earn basically a clip of all royalties that album makes. So rather than Spotify taking all the revenue, you can actually take that revenue yourself as an NFT holder, which is super interesting. So I think we're going to see more of that come out this year with more artists and musicians taking that model. Thanks, Jordan, for sending in a question. I'll answer that in a second. Bored Ape Yacht Club's ApeCoin up 50% this week as its creator raises $450 million in new funding. It's absolutely huge. But Bored Ape Yacht Club's only a year old and it's raised at a $4 billion round. Just massive. The ApeCoin obviously is also been a huge announcement off the back of the NFT. And led by Andreessen Horowitz, this is where all the money is going. The smartest people, the smartest money are going into this space. And ApeCoin's up to around $14.50. The big VC boost. The metaverse. Oh, sorry, I'm losing my voice there. The metaverse that Bored Ape Yacht Club announced the other day, I'm super excited about. The graphics look unreal. It's interesting to see how that's going to be taking over against Sandbox and Decentraland. I use Decentraland a little bit, but honestly, you know, the graphics aren't great. You can't use VR, etc., etc. It's like we're still very early there. I think once we start seeing VR and you can put in your headset and go into these metaverses, I think things will continue to increase the adoption. But for now, it's it's still very early days in my opinion. Now we've got some investing strategies for the bear market, which I can get into as well. We might just throw to questions, a bit of Q&A. The other thing I just wanted to touch on is just the early stage crypto opportunities. Our portfolio has been absolutely smashing it. So we launched this in September. Lifetime, the early stage opportunities portfolio is up 60% or 52% in about 6 months, up 70% against Bitcoin pair and ETH pair. Just huge returns. Maple's been so good for us, up 140%. Well done to all the members that jumped into that. I'm just going to take a drink and then we'll get into some questions if you want to shoot them through. Jordan, how do you feel about the metaverse narrative? A slow burner or will it run into tandem with a bullish rally? Mate, as I mentioned, I think it's going to be interesting to see which metaverse wins. Obviously, you've got Meta, you've got Decentraland, you've got Sandbox, you've got ApeCoin, you've got all these different metaverses creating their own, I guess, digital space for people that they're trying to attract. I don't know. I still think we're early. Like, have you used a metaverse? Have you gone in there and played around? Like, from a real world, if we take our investors' hat off and actually go and use the product, that's where I like to start. I've been in Decentraland. It's a bit chaotic. It's still very early. The graphics, like, I like the idea of it. It's kind of interesting. Nick, our analyst, he loves, VR and going into Decentraland and in different areas. But I think until you can really be in these lands and have the full experience, like the full VR experience, like for me, I think it's going to be hard for, it's going to be hard for the masses. Like obviously all of our early adopters, the people that are buying, ApeCoin and buying NFTs right now, I think, are going to be the ones that are going to be promoting and pushing these metaverses. But until I think we see those metaverses really step up in terms of the experience, what you can do in there, the graphics, the virtual worlds, the VR, the games, the stores, everything that goes on in the metaverse, I don't think we're going to see the mainstream. Doesn't mean that I think the metaverses won't continue to blow up and be huge this year. I mean, look at just ApeCoin alone and the Bored Ape Yacht Club, like the ability for you to be a character as your NFT and go into these metaverses is super cool. I love that idea. But I don't know. I think until like Meta come out with their metaverse and VR is more widely adopted, I just don't think we're going to see the wider adoption, in my opinion, in the short term. Gibbo. Hey Ben, have Collective Shift completed much research into DAOs in Australia? Is it true they are not legal here? We've done a little bit of research into DAOs, like the stuff that's going on the politics side at the moment. They're trying to push through the policies and guidelines for DAOs to be a legal registered business type, like against your proprietary limited sole trader, etc., etc. So yeah, I think Australia trying to be more on the cutting edge and wanting to adopt that. This stuff moves slow, so I'm not too sure how fast that stuff will be built, but I don't think it's not legal. I think it's just a matter of, it's still a bit grey. I think in a lot of different areas within crypto is still a bit grey. So Now, we have looked into it, but still early days on that front. Hey, Sandra. I have Euro that I need to change to USD. How not get caught with currency exchange rates? Send SEPA Euro, transfer to FTX, buy Bitcoin for Euro, then straight away sell that Bitcoin for USD ASAP. I'd probably look at something like Binance, where you can deposit Euro directly. You might be able to do this on other exchange. I know you can do it on Binance, where you can deposit Euro directly into Binance, and then I'd just buy the Euro USD pair, if there is one. Alternatively, I'd just deposit Euro into BTC and then swap it for Bitcoin. I'm pretty sure you can swap it into USD though. So that's what I do. So deposit your Euro into Binance, and then I'd buy the USDC pair. So just buy Tether, which is the USD stablecoin, and then you can withdraw that USD out into your bank account or whatever you want to do with that USD. I had a friend that was trying to do that as well. I think with Filipino dollars or some other dollars, and that's what we did. We just trade it, Sandra. Just trade it into, and you can do that anyway. You can do it on FTX. Just trade your euros into USDC. That way, you're not going to get the slippage. Jamie, what do you think about different layer ones, like more obscure ones? To be honest, Jamie, I haven't looked too deeply in the more obscure niche layer ones. I honestly think that Ethereum's really going to have a market stronghold for a little while, just with everything it's doing and the growth. I think Solana's tried, Cardano's trying. Like, there's a lot of different layer ones that are trying, but just haven't been able to do it. And obviously, a lot of them, but mind you, in saying that, like even Hedera Hashgraph, for example, I saw on an article the other day, ANZ was, contemplating using Hedera. So, not that Ethereum's going to be the be all and end all, but yeah, I've probably stuck to more of the top 10, top 20. I haven't looked too deeper into that. Metaverse, DeFi, NFTs, Metaverse, what's next? Yeah, look, I don't know, Metaverse. At the moment, it's a bit hard to tell, right? For me, I think it's probably going to swing between those. Like even DeFi, I think with what's happening in the world right now in people getting access to money, like maybe it goes back to Bitcoin, honestly, like as boring as that sounds. Like I think Bitcoin is just going to be on a, it's just the hedge against inflation with, assets like Terra using Bitcoin as its native peg to its stablecoin, like as its clean asset, with banks, with hedge funds continuing to adopt and understand that this is like the new class of money. The stock market advisors coming out selling, sell your assets. Yeah, I don't know. I for me, it's going to be probably more of the blue chip. I think we're going to see a lot of a flush out of a lot of the smaller projects that just haven't been able to find product market fit and haven't been able to come up with a competitive advantage. I think it's probably going to swing between those three. Gaming, you could probably bundle that underneath NFTs and Metaverse. I think gaming is going to be really interesting, the play to earn space. I think the economics of some of these play to earn games are still probably struggling a little bit in terms of how people were paid out and how that works. But yeah, I think play to earn gaming in the Metaverse was going to be really interesting. So yeah, but apart from that, I'm not seeing too much. Yeah, I agree. Any other questions? Hope you've been enjoying this live stream, everyone, this Friday afternoon. I haven't eaten today. I'm going to go grab some breakfast after this. Could earn crypto by working out, like the amount of sweat you exert. Lol. Jamie, I've actually heard, I can't remember the project. I've speaking to a fund recently who, I think there's a project on Solana, Jamie, working out. Like it's like a fitness app, it's like a Fitbit, but instead of, whatever you earn on Fitbit, like points or whatnot, you can earn like money. So you can get paid to work out. Like, that's super cool. No idea how it works. Haven't looked into it. I got spoken to the other day about the idea. I can't remember what the asset was called, but yeah, I think that's probably more of that to come. Gibbo, I haven't personally looked into Parallel. One of the other guys may have in our Discord. Jamie, I think that's what they did. Black Mirror episode of that with the stationary bike. Cool. Well, we might wrap that up shortly, team, if there's no more questions. That's been fun. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you've been liking the new daily episodes. This one's a little bit longer, just jumping on to do a live stream. Won't do this all the time, but Stefan, that's the Stepan Solana actually works. Thanks, Metaverse. That's the one. Metaverse is our Solana expert. Thanks, Leon. Appreciate it, man. Rightio. We might wrap that up, everyone. Gibbo, Metaverse, Jamie, thanks everyone for tuning on. Chris, John, Jack, thank you. If you've got any more comments, please feel free to add them below. I'll try to get to them after this, but we'll wrap it up there.